This is Andy off Boxing Social, and I'll be joined by Jon Pegg, manager and trainer to Sam Eggington, and many others. John, how are you doing? Happy New Year, and I hope you had a good Christmas as well.
Yeah, nice and quiet, nice and relaxed, makes a change. Back at it now, over the reservoir in the rain, watching the lads run round, ready to go February and end of January.
Obviously, we're down here today, and I've just done an interview with Sam. Talks about how Sam's been looking up to this tick-over period.
He's just staying in shape. So we're hoping to get something in March that might be like meaningful. But if something comes up in the meantime, a little six or something, because I really think boxing regular done in the world of good in Italy. He looked like Sam used to look regular. I think these big gaps don't suit him. He's a fighter. He doesn't need big long camps and aiming at a certain fight. Just fighting regular turns him into what he is. You know, just a hard man who goes through people, and that's how he looked in Italy. And I think them little 4 and 6 rounders in between really help. So if we see more of them, we're not fussy. We'll take them wherever. Don't need TV cameras. We'll take them to make sure he's fighting regular. He's had 34 fights. Yeah. Who else has had that at like his kind of level at 26? And he's done that by fighting regular. So yeah, we'll be looking just for anything that comes up, and hopefully a big fight in March.
I mean, on the back of last year, you said to me earlier, 6 fights he had. Is it kind of a similar process? Are you kind of anticipating it'll be a similar type of year? Just hopefully that big fight in March comes off for him, but until then stay busy, have maybe one fight, 2 fights, and so on after? We'll
be looking to just fight regular, and even if it gets a big one in March and we get what we've got to do, if there's not something till June, we'll fight in between. If you look at like the real kind of busy greats, Julio Cesar Chavez and that, he'd win a fight in front of 120,000, then he'd fight 3 times in Mexico City, just to stay active, like basically like a kind of hard spar. And that's what we're looking to do, because it brings the best out of him, makes him look better, so that's what we're looking at doing.
What was your thoughts on reflection on Sam's year last year, away from the Smith fight, coming back to going a bit of a winning run? What was your thoughts on his end towards the year?
Well, you know what, he done what had to be done. The Smith fight was something we felt needed to be done at the time. We took it, you know, no big deal. He was back sparring with Liam Smith a few months later when Liam needed good sparring. And I think that was a reflection of the respect Liam holds him in. He rung straight up for hard sparring and the kind of sparring he needed to fight some tough Mexicans. So, you know what, again, we're not looking at one fight at a time in Sam's career. We're looking at where he gets to. And without the Liam Smith fight and then the follow-up fight, perhaps the Italian fight wouldn't have dropped him to place, because the Italian guy, ranked number 5 in the world, 31-2, he might not have took Sam if he hadn't have had a loss to Smith. So we might have been sitting there fighting on smaller cards, not able to get a big fight. Yeah. And that's pushed us into the top number 6 in the IBF World Rankings. It happens for a reason. So the Smith fight was part of that process. So we finished the year on a high with a title. We didn't start the year like that. And the Smith fight was part of that process. And trust me, and I know it sounds crazy because you got beat, and Liam will tell you this, Sam's learnt off that fight. We never look at stop learning. A loss is just a way to improve. And when Sam went up and sparred with Liam, he complimented him. And he actually says, like, you pick things up from there. And that's what it's about. You don't drop your head in the sand and say, oh, it's all over because I've had a loss. You look at it and you improve. And I think Sam's form after that has showed that he took that loss on board, as he has all his other losses, and improved to be a better fighter. It's still just turned 26. It's about where we're going to, not about the little bumps on the road on the way. In the old days, 5 or 6 losses was what you'd done on the way to a British title, just to get yourself world ranked. It's not a big deal. We're on about learning and getting better. And I think Sam's last few performances have showed he is learning and he is maturing as a fighter. Even now, with 15 and 16 title fights under his belt, he's still learning all the time.
Talking about Italy, back end of last year, I know you fought once more after that, but what was the thought process behind it? Sam's just spoke about it, but what was your thinking behind taking that fight as well?
I'd already seen that guy quite a lot, because when Matchroom ring, when Sam was flying top of the bills, and they're like, oh, we're looking for an opponent, I'm always looking for opponents, because you've got to think who they're going to bring in. They're going to want someone without a big promoter to mess it up. They're going to want someone in Europe to make it easier. So I had a good look at that guy. And I was all over that. And I was like, Sam, it's a good fight for you. I says, it's a really good fight for you. I think we beat the guy. We've got everything to go for, which is like the opposite of the fights that he doesn't like. The guy's got a title, you're away from home, he's got the good record, he's expected to win, but we know we've got it in the tank if you do the right job. And he went over there totally relaxed, you know, and like he says, the guy at the end of the first round was like, whoa, I didn't expect this. We went over there ready. And having them fights, there weren't no, oh, we took it at short notice. Sam was as fit as he ever was, because when he took it, he was in the middle of a camp. He probably had a 14-week camp with a little rest in between because he was fighting. So we was more than ready, and we went over there, and he didn't just win, he done a job. And the guy, the guy might not have been as good as his world ranking made him look, but he was 31-2. He'd lost on a split decision for the European, and he'd lost on an 11th round stoppage when he was in front on points. So don't worry how Sam made him look. Look at the statistics. 2 losses, 11th round stoppage when he's in front, and a split decision for the European. And Sam blitzed him in 4 minutes. So that's. Don't worry about how Sam made him look. Oh, he ain't that good. No, he was that good. It's because Sam made him look that bad by going through him and doing his job. If Sam had stood off and he boxed his head off, he would have looked as good as he was. But Sam done his job and put himself back in the world top 10. And now we're going to sit there and maybe take our time a little bit more than usual, because we've got a top 10. Everyone else gets a world top 10 ranking, and they sit on it for 12 months and wait for the title fight to drop in. He's already moved up without fighting because someone got beat, so he's moved up one place. Yeah. So we're just going to stay active, do what we're going to do, and see where we get. And the thing is, Sam's ready to fight anyone. He's the perfect voluntary defence for any of these champions, because he's exciting, he's TV friendly, he's ready to fight everyone, and he's not got an unbeaten record that scares him. So we're just sitting ready to go. 26, he's got all the time in the world, and we're going to take our time for once, maybe. Not too much, but maybe a little bit more than usual.
I just want to pick up on there, obviously you're mentioning take your time. On the back of Italy, he kind of win out there, back in front of the Sky cameras, thrusting himself into the limelight once again with a win. Was there a temptation to take that fight on the Joshua card, which Sam mentioned to me in our interview? Was there a temptation just to take it and capitalise on the victory in Italy?
We was very tempted, really tempted, but then we looked at certain aspects, and the fact was, the guy is very good, a former Olympian who's coming through, but nobody had heard of him. And a guy called Suleiman Sissoko, an Olympian from France, very good, but nobody had heard of him. The worst kind of opponent for Sam. No fear there, because nobody's heard of him. If he wins, people will go like, so what? Craig Cunningham beat Anthony Ogogo, he was an Olympian, and who cares? Sam needs someone that he's not meant to win, and it's going to thrust him forward to really get him nervous and excited about the fight. We looked at him and was like, this is Sam's kind of worst scenario. Someone who nobody knows, he's probably expected to beat, but we know his quality. He's managed by Joshua on the Joshua card. We're not going to get any favours, and the guy's tough and strong and unbeaten, and it's a 10-rounder. It's going to be a hard fight, regardless of the outcome. Are we going to get the decision in Saudi on Joshua's card, where he's giving the prince afterwards the ring, and he loves Joshua, and he's managing him? So we just said, hold on. If this is the kind of fight that's been offered, because the money's good because it's a pay-per-view, but we're going to get other offers. We've got a world top 10 ranking. Every fight we've been offered, we've just took, always. And it was 8 weeks. It just kind of relaxed and gone, all my work has come back into play. Do we want to throw it away before the year's even ended? Or do we want to just keep training and stick to the plan we said? Keep improving, because we have seen improvements. A loss there, and it'd be like, man, we're back fighting at Oldham for 200 quid, which we've had to do to get ourselves ready, but let's take our time. And for once, we actually says, you know what, we're just going to have a look, which is not like Sam, not like the team, but maturing-wise, we actually thought, you know what, he has got more time and he has got time to do things, and there are going to be other fights. He's one of the most TV-friendly people out there. He's willing to fight, as he's proved the Smith fight and people like that, and he goes out and fights, he doesn't freeze, win or lose, he goes and fights. There's going to be opportunities. There's so many TV channels out there now that are starting to get into boxing. You've got Channel 5, you've got, obviously The Zone, you've got the BT network. They're all looking for exciting fights. A lot of people won't fight. So we don't have to rush. We can wait and see what comes. And maybe, because it was just, the ingredients for that fight was not good. It all was kind of like, man, this is the kind of banana skin that Sam's had before, just looking at it. So let's wait for one that's maybe like the Italian, where we've had a good look at him, and we like the look of him, it's the right time. Let's wait for the right one, and we're not worried about staying active in little fights in between. So where's the problem? So that's how we looked at it.
Moving forwards and into this year, 2020, you mentioned some of those guys domestically. I spoke to Sam about, Scott Fitzgerald, Anthony Fowler, Ted Cheeseman, Kieran Conway, etc. A stacked division domestically. Yeah. Would you guys consider those names, or are you guys kind of looking beyond that? What are your thoughts on those?
Obviously, you're considering if a big offer come up, and one of them had pushed into the world rankings in a big way, and they're all good fighters, but they're all risky fights. They could all beat any kid on their given day, but Sam won't get a lot of credit for beating them, even though we know they're very good. because of where they're at. If Sam beats them, we'd be like, well, you've been world ranked and European and British and Commonwealth champ. These guys have just won the domestic title. So it's kind of like a step backwards. And as we've shown before, Sam don't perform in those kind of fights where he's meant to win or where he's meant to push forward. He doesn't perform. He performs when it's up against him and he's not meant to win. So we'll be looking to build. He's a chaser. He's not a defender. Like I said, it's a bit like his boxing style. He's good at attacking, not so great at defending. That's like his career. So if they come up, we would. But the fact is, we give them guys the respect that any of them could beat any world rank guy on their day, but you won't get the credit for beating them. So it's all for them and not for us. Whereas if they win, they get the world, they get a title, they get world ranking, happy days, biggest win in the career. If we win, it's like, well, Sam's already won at every level here. So we would rather push forward and take risky fights. If we win, we push forward. If you don't win, them fights are still there. If you lose one of these fights, you're back stuck in a mire. So while we're ahead of that pack, which is no disrespect to them, we're only ahead because Sam has won those titles and has boxed at world level. I'm not saying we're ahead, we're better, but while we're ahead, we want to stay ahead and we want to take the opportunities that are ahead. We don't want to get mired up in the domestic mix, which is the British domestic mix is probably as hard as the world mix, apart from the elite. So let's mix it up with them and get more props and more money for fighting similar kind of level of guys without as much risk.
As I did with Sam now, before I do let you shoot off, just get your thoughts on a few fights. We mentioned the Ruiz-Joshua card earlier, Sam could have been on.
Yeah.
But that main fight, the headline fight, Ruiz-Joshua 2, what was your thoughts on it, Anthony Joshua's victory?
I was over the moon. You know, like Sam says, Joshua didn't make no excuses. He didn't try and, you know, he just took it on the chin. People was trying to make excuses for him. Everyone was saying, oh, it could have been this, should have been that, should have been this. No. What's up? Have I got him? Just staying. So for him to go out there, change his tactics, change his kind of training regime, change his physique, and for Ruiz, and I picked it. I picked Joshua to beat 1 point. I told a lot of people to have a bet on it because I just looked and I thought, is Ruiz? I thought Ruiz was ready to retire because he was earning 30 grand. I thought you shouldn't give a kid like that, who's obviously motivated by the lifestyle, millions and millions and promises him more millions. He's not trying. You can tell he's not the biggest of trainers. So you give him millions in the bank. He's not training hard. And Joshua went out, performed well, and you know, it bugs me that people kind of judge certain ways. Like Tyson Fury goes out, boxes beautiful behind the jab, and it's a masterclass. Fair enough. Joshua goes out, boxes behind the jab, and people moan and say it's boring. Come on, if one's a masterclass, the other one's a masterclass. If you went up online and says Tyson Fury is boring, he didn't throw a lot of punches, then you've got every right to say the same about Joshua. That's the way you're a fan of boxing. But you can't say Tyson's wins are a masterclass, but Joshua's ends. Because for me, Joshua's are even bigger, because Tyson has perfected that style. So he's brilliant at it. Whereas Joshua took a new style that he's never done before and won back the world heavyweight title in the biggest of pressures. That went wrong, he's finished. How much more pressures than that? And he went out there, performed well, won almost every round, took his title back and put himself back in there, big sigh of relief. And you got a lot of people wanting Ruiz to win in Britain, fair enough if you're a fan, but what about British boxing? Because if Joshua's got the heavyweight titles, it's better for British boxing. It doesn't matter. So if you want British boxing to do well, but you're cheering for Ruiz, you're not thinking straight. If you're just a fan of Ruiz, fair enough. Okay, but if you're a fan of British boxing, don't cheer against Joshua because he's done so much good in that one fight. Because he's going to bring stuff back and people fight on the undercards, people get bigger shots, stuff like that. And where the heavyweight title of the world is, that's where boxing follows. And that's what we've got back, so over the moon.
Just to stick with the heavyweights, Wilder Fury 2, matter of about a month and a half away now. What are your thoughts on that one, John?
It's just weird because there's not been a press conference yet. And like, I've got a feeling it might be pushed back a month. I've just got a feeling it has. If it happens, I don't know, because I think Wilder has kind of, even though he didn't get beat, I think he's kind of had his balloon punctured a little bit by the fact that everyone thought he lost. And it showed the way he boxed against Ortiz, although he pulled it out. But also, I think even though he got up twice, I think Fury's fights since have shown that he was maybe not quite ready for that fight and he weren't comfortable with it. because he's took, the wrestling gig and the kind of easy fights. And I think Fury thought, because everyone thought it was too early beforehand, he boxed great. Everyone thought he should have got the win. But I think Fury might have thought perhaps it was a fight or two too early because of the 2 knockdowns. So I'm really struggling to pick a winner. I think if it happens, Fury will get a really close decision, a little bit like Lennox Lewis got over Evander Holyfield, where the second one was actually closer than the first. But people give it to Lewis because of the furor over the first one, and I think that could be a similar thing. Fury might be a fair draw, maybe a close points loser, but he'll get a close decision.
Moving away from Wilder Fury 2 and back just to Sam's division, I asked him and I'm asking you as well, Fitzgerald Fowler, if it was to happen, what are your thoughts on it?
I think Fitzgerald. I think becoming champion cannot be underestimated, what it does for confidence. And Fitzgerald, although very, very good, I think sometimes maybe lacked a bit of confidence or a bit of kind of the stability. And I think becoming champion might add that to it. And Fowler, he's good, he's strong. I don't know what more he's got that will add to it, whereas I think Fitzgerald will have had a little boost. So I think Fitzgerald in a close fight.
And finally, what is the situation with regards to Shaq and Peters? I know that Soggy works with him, but what is the deal there with his bout with Craig Richards?
It's been very convoluted. We asked for the fight, got offered as a voluntary. Craig didn't want Shaq as a voluntary, we was told. So we pushed for Shaq to become mandatory, with Craig as the other mandatory. Craig got made as a mandatory. We says, okay, we're great. And they says, no, we're not going to bid on it. They're pricing themselves out. So it looked like there was going to be no bid, which then the fight just gets reversed to nothing. So we put a bid in. Unfortunately, we got the bid slightly wrong because it was our first British title bid on our own promotions. But because there was interest, the board says we'll do it again next month. Fair play, they told us where we got the bit of paperwork wrong. Because you've got to get it perfectly right. So we was going to put another bid in. In the meantime, there's a bit of trash talk going on. Another promoter started to get interested. So we're like, great, we'll still put our bid in because, we don't want it to slip by just in case. LCS to put a bid in. I think we know where that originated. Mick Hennessy put a good bid in because Mick's got Channel 5 and he's looking to put good fights on. And Craig's a good fighter. Shaq's a 6'6" light heavy that's kind of on the crest of a wave. Mick put a good bid in, we've won the bids. Since then, Eddie's done an interview and says it might not happen because there's better options. Like I tweeted, fair enough, there's better options, crack on, but we could have gone in the golden contract. We got asked over and over, and what a great opportunity, but we really want to win the Lonsdale belt. So we said no. And looking at the golden contracts, I'd really favour Shaq, and it would have been huge for him, but we want to win the Lonsdale. We chased the board, and we harried them to get him mandatory because we wanted to win the Lonsdale. We're not suddenly going to drop it and go, well, we'll forget the Lonsdale, we've seen something better. We wanted that. Obviously, Craig might not if there's a bigger opportunity. It would have to be a pretty huge opportunity for us not to. Yeah. We're dead set on it. So if Craig boxes, that's great. If he doesn't box, Mick has won the purse bid, so I'm pretty sure the board will get somebody else just as able for Shaq to box, and Shaq will still be boxing for it. That's our thing to win the Lonsdale. That's the belt we want to win. And people often say that, but we put our money where our mouth is by not taking a spot in a really prestigious tournament. So that's where we are. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it's not because of us. The interviews are out there. We got offered it on the 19th at 2 weeks' notice. Oh, do you want this fight then? And we was like, no, it's in purse bids now. And Shaq's gone back to work. We're not a full-time bro. So I was just like, don't try that. Come on, we'll just go to purse bids. And it went to purse bids, and now there's another spanner being thrown into the work.
Where does the land lie, in your opinion? Do you think it will or will not happen?
I'm not sure, because obviously if a bid offer comes in, Craig will go for it, because he's already stated that, there might be a big opportunity. We wouldn't, unless it was £1 million. We're not going to get offered £1 million, so we're not going to. But that offer might not come in, because in the world of boxing, sometimes these offers don't materialise, so what's he going to do then? Because it is a big bid that Hennessy's put in for a British title. So does he turn down the chance for the Lonsdale to do an 8-rounder that, he got a draw last time, nearly got beat. What if he gets beat next time? So unless a really big bid comes in, it might happen because they don't always come in. They don't fall in place. They might have an idea for a fight, and that guy gets injured. So he's not. And then the thing is, if you pull out of a mandatory as a purse bid that's already been bid, you get took in front of the board and fined. So he might be thinking, well, perhaps. I think it's 50-50, but it doesn't matter. We're just ready to fight. Shaq's going to fight whoever, so we're ready to fight.
If it doesn't happen, what opponents do you think could be put into position to fight for that vacant title?
Well, the trouble is, there's some really good fighters tied up with the golden contract, and the lads who are good as well have also just lost in the golden contract. Then you've got Boatsi, who is pushing on to bigger things. Yard has just established himself as world class. That'd be like when we're talking about Sam going back for a risky fight that you don't need to have. It's the same kind of thing, so I understand there perfectly. Maybe the guy who drew with Craig Richards, Chad Sugden. Yeah. He went in at short notice, got a draw against the guy who's the mandatory. If the manager don't want to fight, who's a better fight? And then there's the guy who just won the English, Dan Aziz. You got the guy who's at our gym, but he's not managed by us. Ricky Summers, good friend of ours. Yeah. But if there's a title on the line, I'm sure Ricky'd say yeah, and so. But I've got a feeling the English champ, I think the guy who just drew with the mandatory, I think that is the fairest option. The guy goes in, and he's not over 4 or 6, he's done it over 8 rounds and was looking strong. So if he did pull out, I think that'd be the guy that the board would look at. He's the mandatory, he drew with him, so he's as good as him. So, so there's options out there.
Well, Jon Pegg, once again, I've kept you for long enough, as Sam did with Sam, but I appreciate you both sticking around and giving up your time today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good luck for the rest of the year. I'm sure I'll catch up with you soon as well. And thanks for speaking to myself on Boxing Social.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Boxing Social, for all the help and coverage.
Thank you.